Okay, so this morning we are on, what number is it? Lesson 161 of the workbook of A Course in Miracles. Give me your blessing, Holy Son of God. And there's some interesting, it's an interesting lesson from many points of view. Um, at one point in time, the way this has worked for me is when I need to understand, when I want or ask, I don't know what it is, when the time comes that I'm ready to understand things the way they actually are, and the way Jesus attempts to present them, and there's an indication of what I'm speaking about here in this lesson. What happens is my mind is open to vision and experience that comes from the vision that frees me from the need to attempt to conceptually understand what it is that I'm thinking about, or or need to know. And when I say need to know, I'm referring to the idea that Jesus talks to Helen and says we're on a need to know basis. We're given the understanding of that which we need to know in order to fulfill our function in God's plan for salvation. There are things that we, in a particular, whatever it is, whatever state of mind we're in. Remember, Jesus is telling us, we're being told that we are all equal as learners. And in that sense, it is because we are all the Son of God. We're equal as souls in reality. So therefore, our equality is guaranteed and without the ability to be questioned. And this lesson is one of the indications of why that is so. And yet in space and time, we're not all equal. We have not all equally learned the same. It's not homogeneous. And that is the nature and the basis for the judgmental association, which manufactures space and time as a segmented, linear way of measuring things, rather than in the way that time is being used by the Holy Spirit. And we become able to understand time in different ways as we go through these experiences, and as it's useful for us to know in that sense. And so one of the ways in which I've been given to understand things and understand the life of Jesus, as Helen was told by Jesus, that would be good for her to read the Bible, because he is, in the sense, the model. Edgar Cayce had that right. Edgar Cayce understood perfectly well that Jesus is the model, and the mind is the maker. And that's what this lesson is hearkening to. Jesus is the model, and mind is the maker. And this is what we're coming to understand. And our function here is to fulfill our part in God's plan for salvation by doing His will. And the way to do His will is to understand what His will is for us, not in a conceptual way, which I'll get to in a second here. And there's an indication of it in this lesson. So one of the things it was given me to understand about Jesus was His idea, or His sense of what it meant to bless. To bless. And this lesson for me is one of those lessons in which the understanding becomes very valuable to help me see what's really being asked and why it's being asked. Because what this is saying is that, give me your blessing, Holy Son of God. We are that Holy Son of God. Holy Son of God is the sum total of all of the souls created by God. it's greater than the indication of the sum of its parts, which is something that is very difficult for conceptual minds to grasp for the reason that is contained within this lesson. Complete abstraction is the natural condition of the mind, but part of it now is unnatural. It does not look on everything as one. It sees instead but fragments of the whole, for only thus could it invent the partial world you see. The purpose of all seeing is to show you what you wish to see. All hearing but brings to mind the sounds it wants to hear. Ask and you shall receive. And you know, I talk about this a lot. The back door to understanding. Because you can hear these words and think you know what they mean, but the experience of the meaning, or the meaning behind the experience and the experience and its validity for you, comes when you see how it actually works for you and experience the working of it. So the back door to understanding what this is speaking of is this. Okay, the purpose of all seeing is to show you what you wish to see. All hearing but brings to your mind the sounds it wants to hear. Okay, so if you want to know the thoughts, if you want to heal your mind and your heart of the unconscious guilt and fear thoughts that have been controlling your life and offering you the witnesses to fear and guilt that this course talks about, you must look and experience directly what it is that's occurring to you and not spiritualize your thinking to avoid what's being offered to you by the reflections that you get. So if the purpose of all seeing is to show you what you wish to see, what you are seeing is what you wish to see based on the thinking that you're getting the result of, not within the mind up here that thinks it thinks these thoughts. That's the distraction from looking directly at what it is you're receiving, so as to understand the thoughts that are hidden from you consciously, that are controlling what's going on in your life. And when we look without judgment and without the need to justify our thinking, we can find all the unconscious thoughts that are in a sense affecting the experience that we're having, especially affecting the experience we're having of not being in the recognition of the truth of who we are in reality, right here and right now, within this illusion of space and time. So that's often a way of understanding what's happening to you that requires a fundamental admission and not avoidance or intellectualizing or spiritualizing what's occurring around you conceptually. So Jesus explained to me in a vision, and I can't tell you how that happens, although many of you know what it means to have an open mind that's available for communication in order for the understanding to be imparted upon you of itself, so as for you to learn how you are to operate and how you are to proceed in playing your role in the part for atonement. And that's why Jesus often encouraged Helen to read the Bible. So one of the things that I was shown was that when Jesus blessed something, he incorporated it into himself. And there's indications when you read the miracle principles of the idea of cooperation, and collaboration. So when Jesus would bless something, his blessing, because he knew he was not a body, he knew and was aware of what he is as eternal, whole, and perfect, and one in reality with all things, he would take that, incorporate it into his being, and then be able to share it with anyone that was willing to participate in the sharing of the wholeness that he was offering in the incorporation of everything into his being. And that's what he considered blessing. So whenever there was a miracle performed, he would take the food or take the fish or the loaves and bless it, meaning it made it part of his eternal, infinite nature of the abundance of the kingdom. And then it would be able, because of the abstract nature of mind itself, and the ability of the abstract nature in its concrete condition to use specifics, allow the specific to be a demonstration of the totality of the reality of the abundance of the kingdom. And that's what blessing is. So when this lesson says to me, give me your blessing, Holy Son of God, what I'm being asked to do is allow myself to be included back in the totality of reality of the Son of God, which is natural rather than unnatural. Bless me, Father, for I have sinned, in a sense, is saying, Father, re-include me back into the kingdom because I missed the mark when I remembered not to laugh and fell into a condition wherein which I felt separate. And that's what's being asked of us. Give me your blessing, Holy Son of God. Include me back in to the totality of the reality of the kingdom, wherein which I'm always a part, but which I have forgotten by my own decision, and now must once again ask to be part of. So I'm asking the Son of God, the Holy Son of God, to allow me to be once again part of the reality of the complete abstraction and the natural condition of the mind. Now, here again, there's another, boy, the lesson's really loaded. And I'm never going to have time to cover it all, but there is something that I want to get to. It says, one brother is all brothers. Every mind contains all minds, for every mind is one. Now, here we go. Such is the truth. That's just the truth. Truth is true, nothing else is true. Nothing real, nothing true can be threatened. Nothing that isn't true can possibly exist. The unreal can't exist. Yet, do these thoughts make clear the meaning of creation? Do these words bring perfect clarity with them to you? What can they seem to be but empty sounds, pretty perhaps, correct in sentiment, yet fundamentally not understood nor understandable? Here's why. The mind that taught itself to think specifically can no longer grasp abstraction in the sense that is all-encompassing. We need to see a little that we learn a lot. What Jesus is saying is that conceptual understanding of these words is not the experience that is required in order for you to really grasp a sense of what is true. Yet, because of the nature of the separation and the truth of reality, one brother is all brothers, because if we forgive one brother wholly and fully, if we include one brother back in us, we include all brothers because in the nature of abstraction, that's just the way it is. Now, this goes back when you read the rest of the lesson and it says how we're going to practice today. It definitely speaks to the idea of Jesus, what he was saying in back in his own day, when he says, love your enemy. If you only love that which you already love isn't increased. But if you love your enemy and bring him back into the love, your love is increased. And in loving one enemy, you see the basis for the inclusion of all enemies, because you lose fear of the idea of what an enemy is. So this is really beautiful stuff, and is very much in line with what Jesus taught 2,000 years ago, and what he has shown me he is about and we're about as functionaries in this plan for atonement. So for their practice, one brother is all brothers, because if we achieve success with any one brother, we've achieved success with all brothers. And if we've achieved success with all brothers, then any brother that is presented to us we recognize not as the body that he is, but in the successful inclusion of ourselves in the totality of what we were created to be, along with everything that was created to be that with us. Then we can begin to understand what the natural abstraction of mind is, and how one brother is all brothers, and every mind contains all mind, for every mind is one. At a certain point in time, I was given the tech crew, showed me. Now, how they could do that in a mind that's concrete, I don't know. Yet in a mind that's open willingly and available to see more than in the concepts it utilizes and its attempt to understand them. Because remember, you cannot get more than what you ask for. So if you ask for conceptual understanding of this and attempt to conceptually understand it with the mind that you're utilizing, you will identify that and hold the concept as true and utilize that as a concept to judge others' concepts and other people's understanding. Yet when the experience comes that replaces the need for concepts, you're abstracted from the conceptual nature of your mind, and you're placed in the awareness of what your mind is as open, whole, and free, without the need to get a physical result, because your mind has been freed from the boundaries that we've utilized the body to establish physical and physical results in the need for life to be specific. If this is understandable, I really don't know sometimes. It's so clear in my mind, and I see it so perfectly clear, not with my body's eyes, although that which I see with my spiritual eye becomes a utilizable in the way I can look out from the seeming body's eyes. And this is going to go on to say, it's not the body that limits. It's the mind that thinks the body is its limitation that gets the result of its own thinking and the experience of the limitations that it needs to verify the concepts it's using in order to be what it is. And you are not that. Nor is your brother if you're not either. So when you can include any idea of separation back into the nature of the wholeness, the separation disappears, and so do all the effects in that sense. And then you can use that as the brightness of a new light, a new heaven in your mind to begin to participate in a new earth here in space and time. It seems to be the body that we feel limits our freedom, makes us suffer, and at last puts out our life. Yet bodies are but symbols of a concrete form of fear. Fear without symbols calls for no response, of course. For symbols can stand for the meanings. Love needs no symbol, being true, but fear attaches to specifics, being false. It needs something to demonstrate its falsity in the nature of something that is also demonstrating its truth, because it causes the idea of there's two different things. There's true and there's false, the split, the duality. A whole perfect mind that exists in the singular nature and the totality of reality doesn't do that, because it's not possible. It wouldn't know how to or why to. That's why this is an illusion. That's why this isn't your reality. So I think that's enough. Give me your blessing, Holy Son of God. Include me back into the wholeness that you are. I'll include you back into the wholeness that I am. And we'll forgive each other's sins by forgiving our own sense of separation and thinking that we could exclude anything from our reality and be happy with partiality. Can't be. It won't do. You want everything because you were created to be everything. You can't be separate from everything because you are that. You must include yourself in and include all your brothers in as well.